Yesterday, we celebrated the 17th anniversary of the passing of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. As Rabbi Schneerson was affectionately known throughout the world as the Rebbe, the Rebbe assumed leadership of the Chabad movement in 1950 after the passing of his father-in-law, and he led the movement until his own passing in 1994. Now, within the next few minutes, of course, it's an impossible task to go through his entire life and the amount of impact he had on world Jewry and even greater than world Jewry. But I just wanted to give you one little insight in how the Rebbe's vision looked and how he thought about the world. This was in 1967, prior to the great miracle of the Six-Day War in Israel, when world Jewry was terribly terrified. Nasser, the head of Egypt and of the United Arab Republic, was threatening Israel with annihilation. We are going to push the Jews into the sea. And as time went on, Nasser surrounded Israel, expelled the United Nations forces from the Sinai desert, and closed the Gulf of Aqaba and was literally putting a chokehold on Israel. I myself remember in May of that year, May of 1967, I was 11 years old, and growing up in Montreal, we had Expo 67, and the president at that time of Israel, Zalman Shazar, and he came to visit, and I remember seeing him, and he was crying and pleading for prayers for Israel and help for Israel, etc., etc. Well, the Rebbe at that time, as he was wont to do, and he did many times subsequently, was the calm within the storm. And he told his followers that the way that we need to deal with this current crisis is to start a mitzvah campaign, and specifically a mitzvah campaign to get people to put on tefillin, phylacteries. And the Rebbe based this upon a verse in the book of Deuteronomy, that the nations of the world will look upon you and they will fear you. And in the Talmud it explains that this means that they will see the tefillin on your head. So the Rebbe said, what is better than having people put on tefillin? Well, where do you find these people, Rebbe? Well, wherever they are. Go into the streets, in their homes, in their places of work, wherever you can reach a person who hasn't put on tefillin that morning, put on tefillin. Well, this is a revolution. No one had ever done this before. Urging his followers to go out into the street, literally on the sidewalk, approaching people if they're Jewish and had they put on tefillin that day, and getting them in the middle of the street, downtown Manhattan, to roll up their sleeves and put on tefillin. Whoever heard of such a thing? But the Rebbe insisted, and when the Rebbe insisted, we followed. And people all over the world went and found people that were not familiar with the mitzvah of tefillin, and literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people put on tefillin before. After the war, you could see signs in Israel all over the place, Kol HaKovod LaRebbe MiLubavitch, all of the honor to the great Lubavitcher Rebbe, for really giving us an inspiration, for thinking about everybody, soldiers, lay people, old people, young people, students, business people. It was a kind of a campaign that swept world Jewry. It caught everyone by the greatest surprise, including the Lubavitchers themselves, who are not used to doing what we call, shoe leather ministry on the street. If people come into your house, sure, you want to deal with them, but going out, bothering them? Whoever heard of such a thing? But this was the Rebbe's outlook on life. If they don't come to us, we're going to go out to greet them. And subsequently, over the years, the Rebbe added 9 more mitzvahs, 9 more campaigns, which he called the 10-point mitzvah campaign. That if a Jew who's not ready yet to take on the entire Torah, to do all of the 613 mitzvahs, keep it in completion, let him start slowly. Let him take one little step. Let her take one little step. For a woman to light Shabbos candles, for people to keep kosher in their home, to buy Jewish books, to put up a mezuzah, to give their children a Jewish education, to do family purity, to have a charity box at home and to give charity, etc., etc., etc. These little steps, these movements was the Rebbe's solution to what was ailing American Jewry: apathy. We don't care. It's irrelevant. Oh no, it is relevant and totally relevant, the Rebbe said, and made God alive and made a passion, plea for Jews all over the world to realize that our strength, the Jewish Ga'on Yankiv, the backbone of the Jewish people, does not come because we are smart, although we may be. It doesn't come we have bigger guns, although we should have. But it becomes because of our connection with the Almighty and His blessing. And the more that we do for Him, the more He's going to do back for us. This was one little thought. Even though the Rebbe has been gone for 17 years in a physical sense, his inspiration lives on in the hearts and minds of his followers. And by extension, since I am one, it on to you. So this would be a great time for everyone to reflect upon the great Lubavitch Rebbe's impact onto the world and to do something for him in taking upon ourselves one more mitzvah in making this world a very special place and repairing it for the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu. May he come speedily in our day. Thank you and see you next time.